So thank you everyone for being here today. Again, the subject today, building local food hubs. It sounds very big, but I think that we have two amazing guests that are going to help us think about food hubs and think about how to put together a system that allows you to create a food hub in a way that's effective for you and for your customers. So it's interesting. And when I say customers, it's not a word that sort of like sits that well with the food hub idea. Maybe it's more your community, stakeholders, but those are ideas that we're going to be exploring with Nick and Rosie. For you to have an idea of who you're talking to, just in case you don't know, Rosie Jack is the events the events and market manager in Bowhouse, and Bowhouse is Balcaski State. That's in the east of Scotland, southeast, like right on top of Edinburgh. And Nick, I'm not really sure how to present you, Nick. Are you a facilitator? I would say.
I am.
Community.
Yeah, that's one of the words people use for me, Anna. Yeah.
Is basically making the conversation between the software world and the people that are going to be using it more fluid. It's hard to actually put a name on it, but because he has so many different hats that he has and brings into this conversation. But Nick is basically Mr. Know what you need to know when it comes to the software and how to use it. So that's Nick for you. Feel free to ask him questions. Don't feel the pressure, Nick. So those are our two guests. I'm Anna. I'm a farming and land use manager with the Soil Association. And really shortly, just because I know that many of you might not have been to a Soil Association event before, I just wanted to let you know what we do, literally in one phrase, and I think it's an easy one. We want to create better food. We want to make good food accessible for everyone, but growing it with respect with the environment, and the environment meaning not only the natural environment, but also those communities that live within it. So in that context, there's nothing that makes more sense than creating local, healthy food that sustains their communities. So in that context, this is just a perfect fit for us. So I think that's enough from me. We're going to actually start the conversation now. And I think that the first question that I would like to ask Rosie and Nick, who need to unmute now, is what do you feel a food hub is? And we're going to start with Rosie. In your experience, what does this food hub that Bowhouse has turned into? What do you think it is? How do you approach it? Oh, you're muted, Rosie, sorry. You need to mute.
There we go. So I'll quickly explain what Bowhouse is, and then I'll explain how it's working with Open Food Network. So Bowhouse is an old farm shed. It was converted into production units. So we've got 7 different businesses based at Bowhouse, and they are all producing and making and growing and farming food from Bowhouse, and then they distribute from the space as well. We're probably most well known public facing for our monthly market weekends, which we host at Bowhouse, where we welcome lots of different traders from across Scotland. They pitch up at Bowhouse on market stalls and sell their produce. So that's kind of what we're most well known for. But really at the core of what we do at Bowhouse is connecting our community and people to local food and drink, and good quality food and drink, and making sure that everything that we do is as sustainable as possible and as honest and transparent as possible. So there's lots of different parts of what we do at Bowhouse, and all the different businesses play their own parts. So when COVID struck, we really had to change what we were doing, and actually the idea of building a food hub, something that was a weekly link to the trader and the customer, was what we've always talked about setting up, but lockdown really just fast-tracked that for us and made it happen a lot quicker. So obviously the market weekends, people were getting in touch with that produce each month, but we really wanted to make that connection happen a lot more, which is where the food hub idea came into it. We're not a farm shop at all. It's not the sort of place that you can, shop a wild variety of lots of different products. It's really what's at its best at this time of year, super seasonal and really local. So Bowhouse is kind of it's super community based. We want lots of our community to be involved and help be part of it, and it's really just a place for small businesses to get going and work with each other. That's kind of Bowhouse in a nutshell. Nick, do you want to explain Open Food Network before I go into why we joined Open Food Network? Would that be useful?
Nick's also muted. Nick, you need to unmute yourself. I think that we had a moment where we muted everyone, so sorry about that.
Thank you, Rosie. Yes, and it's Bowhouse is a fantastic example of one of the ways Open Food Network is used. It is used in many other ways as well. What we're trying to do with the Open Food Network is build a single software platform. It's a platform co-op, and that platform can be used in many, many different ways. So some of the people who use the Open Food Network are individual producers, farmers and growers who sell direct from the farm. Some of them are food co-ops who are buying from wholesalers. They may be buying in bulk, grains and rice and pasta in bulk, and then splitting it up and distributing it to their members. It may be a food bank. It might be a farmers market, which is a traditional farmers market, a face-to-face farmers market, but with an online shop front to supplement the farmers market. It might be a food bank distributing surplus and donated food. But the beauty of the platform is that you can then network with each other. So everybody who's using that software can then network with each other and connect with each other. But what we're sort of focusing on today is the Bowhouse model, but there are very many other models that are possible.
I think that's what's really interesting about what you're saying is that there's no one definition of what a food hub is, and that it can take many forms.
Yeah.
I think it's
Sorry,
Rosie, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that there is lots of different ways that it can kind of morph into, and some of the reasons that we chose Open Food Network. So when lockdown struck, we were like, right, we need to do this now. And the reason we wanted to do it is because we felt we just couldn't fall silent. Obviously, all of our events were cancelled. Many of our producers were either really, really busy, like our flour mill, or really, really quiet. And we felt we needed to do something to make sure they could keep feeding, we could keep feeding our community and keep connected to our community. So obviously our events were cancelled, and this was a way to keep that going. So really, Bowhouse is just the middleman. We're just kind of, we plonk ourselves in the middle, do all the different kind of joining up of all the different people, connecting and contributing into it. So sort of we liaise between the traders who have this amazing produce, but trying to get it to the market, which is the customers. So I kind of see it as that we've got lots of different customers. My main customers are our traders. So we need to make sure they're happy and their produce is being sold and they're being marketed correctly. And then also another customer is the actual customers that are paying for this produce. So there's lots of different goals to make sure everyone's happy. And actually that was one of the main reasons that we chose Open Food Network. We looked at other platforms like Neighbour Food, which does it very similarly and is brilliant. We looked at the Great British Food Hub as well, also a very good platform. And they all do very similar things. And I think what made us choose Open Food Network was that it was an open source. We could work really closely with Nick's team and the whole Open Food Network team. And that was that kind of open source of, here's the information, we're learning as well. This has gone mad in the last 2 weeks back in April, and we're all just kind of, let's see if we can get through this together. And it was really nice to be kind of part of that community of building upon it. So no, I'm really pleased that we did join Open Food Network, and I would encourage others to do the same. It was really beneficial. And I think we've also got this little WhatsApp group that we can send quick messages to and keep connected. So that was really useful when you're working so quickly and things were changing so fast back when lockdown struck. We could really be in touch with these groups really quickly and answer questions and change things the same day, if not the same hour. So that was really, really beneficial back then, if that makes sense.
What's your experience, Nick, and all the changes that have been happening and sort of like your experience pre-lockdown and post, like during the lockdown once it started? What have you been seeing throughout the country?
Yeah, so what we noticed was that some farmers and growers were having to very quickly reorganize. As Rosie says, things changed pretty much overnight. Some farmers and growers who were dependent on the hospitality trade. So they were selling to cafes and restaurants that closed overnight, and they had, you know, fields and polytunnels full of salads and produce that needed to be sold. It was quite, you know, needed to be harvested very urgently. So people were coming to the Open Food Network. They were setting up, either just setting up as a producer and then linking to other people who already had a shopfront on the Open Food Network, or, as I said earlier, becoming a producer shopfront. So setting up their produce and then selling direct from the farm, and then starting to network with other people who were using the Open Food Network and giving permission for other people to sell their produce. So what I think we learned through COVID is that it's really important to have a very distributed, a very varied distribution network, rather than depending on a single outlet, so that you can quite quickly switch from one route to market to multiple routes to market.
I think that's really true, and probably leads me on to my next point, is that we obviously, Bowhouse, we already had these connections with lots of different traders, and some of them were on Open Food Network already, and they were selling through other hubs, and a lot of them weren't. So the way we got it set up so quickly was that we already had those connections with these traders that we wanted on the site. They trusted us, they knew what we were about, they understood Bowhouse, and we just kind of had to say, hey, look guys, here's your call to action. If you want to be part of this, we're opening this up for you. It's super easy. And the Open Food Network team were really good at just saying, we'll talk to the traders for you, we can explain this, we can get them up and running really quickly. And I think that we've managed to kind of, it's been I think probably mainly we've kind of brought people onto the site, but also there's been other traders that we've actually never had to the market weekends, and they've spotted us on Open Food Network and been like, I've actually never come to Bowhouse Market Weekend because, you know, maybe it's a 2-day event, or I can't commit, or I've not got enough stock, but I've got this amazing produce and I'm already on Open Food Network. Can I be part of it? I'm in your area. And we're like, goodness me, yes, absolutely, that is brilliant. And that's what's really good about it, is that although we've already got our own network, our network is now networking with everyone else. So it's kind of it's spreading across the country, and you can see that in the map that we're going to show later on, which is we've been really, really good to see, actually. Yeah.
And can I just chip in there, Rosie? One of the things that we're trying to encourage is small-scale food production. And obviously, a lot of people who use the Open Food Network are large-scale growers and farmers, but we also want to encourage more people to think of themselves as food producers. So what we're encouraging is for anybody who's got any kind of surplus. It may be just a little bit, some garden fruit that is more than they need, or surplus from their allotment, or maybe they enjoy making jams and cakes at home and they want to sell a few spare, that they can set up on the Open Food Network. They can set their stock level to whatever limit they've got and join one of the existing food hubs. And then as we sell their produce, it will automatically count down, and when it gets to zero, it will stop selling it. So we can in that way we can encourage people to get into food production and start small, start to make a little bit of an income from it, and then hopefully grow, so that we have a very rich network of food producers, food growers and farmers of all different sizes. And hopefully that will give us a more resilient, a more sustainable, a more secure food system in the future.
That's actually worked really, really well, having that ability to count down the stock. So when traders come into the market weekends, the physical events we host, we can kind of roughly guess what the footfall is going to be and say, okay, our footfall is going to be this. We think you should bring X amount. And quite often they do sell out. So we've got minimum waste, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes, it could be anything and the footfall is low. And having the tick down of produce, counting down on how much you sold is brilliant. So when all this stock arrives on Fridays at Bowhouse, and when we walk away on Saturday midday, there's nothing in the hall. All of the produce has then gone to the customers and is being eaten, which is amazing. We've not got any waste, and that's something I really, really like about it, is that you can say, I've got these X, I've got 10 donuts and can sell 10 donuts, and that's all they've got. And maybe they wouldn't be able to go to a physical farmer's market because they can only make 10 donuts, but they're the most amazing 10 donuts ever, so they can sell them on the Open Food Network. And that's an example of one of our traders, and she just wanted to take part, and we were like, amazing, these are great. So that aspect of it has been really good, and it's really easy for traders to log on and amend all of that themselves. They don't really need to go through us. They've got their own back office, which we'll show you later, and it's super super easy for them to go, actually I've midweek I've actually only got 7 of this, I've not got 20 of this, so I'll just quickly amend that. So that's really good. Yeah.
That sounds great. Since you're talking about seeing it, Nick, do you want to walk us through the process?
Yeah. Shall I, Rosie, do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. And then hopefully, let me just see, it should be there. Okay, so I wanted to check that you can all see the Bowhouse shop front, is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Fantastic. Let me just go back a step. So this is the map. This is showing all of the producers and the shops. So the producers show up on the map as a tractor symbol. The shops will show up as this little scale symbol, and all of these producers and these shops have the option to network with each other. They can all sell each other's produce. They can all give permission to each other to link up to distribute produce. So producers, quite often, if they're driving past somebody else's farm on their way to drop produce at a hub, they may well pick up from another producer to save everybody having to drive into the hub. And then the producer who's doing that distribution on behalf of others can charge a small markup and to cover their costs for doing the driving. So it's just a way of reducing food miles and giving the producers a way to make a little bit of an additional income. The Bowhouse shop. I don't know, Rosie, do you want to talk through this in a bit more detail? But I mean, basically, every single shop front has its own logo and its own description. It has a notices page where they can talk about special offers and how ordering works. So there's quite a lot of detail there, and that's completely customizable. Rosie will have, and her colleagues will have written that. Various different contacts here. You can see the different producers who are selling through Bowhouse, and if you wanted to, you could click on them, click on there, and find out a bit more about the producer. Get there, make contact with them, follow them on social media, and so on. But the shop itself, what we can see here is all the different Bowhouse products. We can see, if I scroll down here, that some of the produce here is coming from. So if you want to see some more detail about the product, you can click there. You can see a picture of it. You can maybe see a link to the website of the producer who's growing that. And here, if you click on the producer, you can actually find out a bit more about the producer. So that's what we're aiming to do, is to make it as transparent as possible, so that you can see the product, you can see how it's grown, you can see who grew it and talk to them if you want to. You can also see the price of the product. So, and against the price, you can see that if you're buying this cabbage, you're paying £1.75 for it, and you can see how much of that selling price is going to go to the market garden who grew it, and how much is being retained by the hub. Because of course the hub has got costs. The hub needs to do all the admin that Rosie was describing. They need to receive the produce, they need to box it up, they need to prepare it, they need to provide the space, they need to do the admin of the hub. And the hub can decide what kind of markup they make. So the Open Food Network is intended to give each hub as much control as possible, and the hub decides what kind of markup they make. And it may be that the hub makes different markups with different producers. The hub that I help to run, we have a standard markup of 20%, but there are some of our producers who ask us to manage their products for them. They don't like to have to manage their own stock levels, so they just phone us up and they talk to us, and we manage their stock for them. But because we're doing that extra work, we charge a 25% markup, so we can vary the markup from producer to producer. Rosie, this is your shop front. Is the stuff that you wanted to talk about here?
Yeah, I mean, so you'll see all the different products here, and what we said to try and retain a bit of control over what the products look like, is that so the traders, they upload these products, and quite often we don't have control over what the wording is, or the language and things like this. So some of the things that we kind of said to traders, hey, look, the way that the site is listed, we need you to put fruit at the start of it so that everything sits together. So it's not like you've got fruit down here and then fruit at the bottom, you know, it's all kind of like flowing together. And what's nice about it is that you can choose what order the different categories of products sit in. So we've got special offers at the top, and our special offer is tagged as East Neuk food bank donations. So this is something we've started where customers can give a donation to our local food bank, which has been amazing. They've donated nearly, I think we're over £1,000 now in the last sort of 12 weeks. We've managed to donate to our local food bank, which is amazing. We're really pleased. And we wanted to make sure that this Bowhouse link was for everyone. So even if people can't shop on Bowhouse link, the food bank is giving something to everyone. So it's kind of encapsulating everyone, if you like. So all the different products here. Nick, do you mind scrolling down? Thank you. You can see what we've got lots of different veg, and that's from 2 different veg producers that we've got normally coming to our market weekends. At Bowhouse, we have our own on-site butchery called the Butchery at Bowhouse. And they sell through Open Food Network on their own, so they've got their own shop front as well as selling on Bowhouse Link. So you kind of have to manage the stock a little bit, but that works quite well. So Sophie, who runs the butchery, she's got her own shop and she can deal with her customers herself and do all that admin, so she gets more of her own percentage, if that makes sense. But obviously we've probably got the majority of sales coming through Bowhouse Link for her. So when we're choosing traders or allowing traders to be part of it, the same as our market weekends, we're always we're quite strict with who we allow in. They need to be actually producing the product, are growing it, farming it, making it, fishing it. You know, they need to be the ones that are involved in that full process. They need to understand their story and be able to tell the customer their story of the produce. And we ask for all the right documentations, you know, food hygiene, everything is above board that we need to get from them before they're even allowed on the site. And if they don't give us that, then we just don't let them into the online site, as well as the market weekends. They wouldn't be accepted. So it gives us control to make sure that we're kind of making sure that everything's right and it's in the same sort of on the same mission as us. And fair for the customers as well as the traders. So yeah, we're really lucky. We've had lots of different traders get in touch, and some of them are super quick to get up and running, and some of them do need extra help. And I think the site is really easy to kind of let that happen. I wonder, can I take control of the page?
Maybe if I stop sharing and then you could start sharing, would that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
Probably don't want my emails, do you?
Never know, they might be classified.
Might be something interesting.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you can see that.
Not just yet.
You see that?
Yes, it's going.
Okay. So I'll just scroll down a little bit. So we try and keep it as varied as possible. The traders upload what they have that week, and then the Sunday before the market opens, I kind of just go through it all and make sure that everything's sort of making sense. What's good about, here's a good example. What's good about this is that we try and get the traders not to have hundreds of different products, because it really clogs up the site. So these are things called variants. So these are sausages, but they can come in with black pudding, chorizo, sweet chili. So these can just be drop downs. You can have different prices on the drop downs in the variants, and you can have different quantities. So that could be a weight quantity, or it could be per unit. So the site is really flexible like that. You can change things up and switch them around to how you want it to look. So, I mean, there's quite a lot of bread on here, so I'll just keep scrolling. But yeah, you're going to get a gist of, we've tried to make sure we've got something for everyone. We've got sort of lots of fresh produce at the top, and breakfast things down to your treats, you know, your chocolates. And these are all locally produced, to your kind of ready meals, and put the booze down at the bottom if you like. Maybe people don't like that, but yeah, so we're very lucky. We've got lots of different traders on the page, and it's working really well. And the one thing we're kind of missing is fresh fish. But actually, some customers have said to us, "Why have you not got fish on your site?" But actually, we live, Bowhouse is next to a fishing village. So when you're coming to collect your Bowhouse produce, or you're having it delivered, the fish sheds are literally next door to us. So we kind of want people to actually just go to the local community and get the fish from there, because then that's the freshest it can be. So trade customers are really good. They can get back in touch with us and suggest things that they want to see on the site. We also don't have everything up there all the time. So when things go out of season, you've missed your chance. That's it. It's out of season. Nothing's imported. It's all super local. And that's another thing that we check when traders come onto the site. Does that kind of talk through the site from a customer point of view?
Yeah, I think that's pretty thorough. So there's a few questions, and I think that might be interesting.
I should also probably say, sorry, I've just thought of something, that the customers have, on our page, they've got two different options of getting their produce. So how it works is that site opens on the Monday morning and the orders run until Wednesday midday, and then it shuts up Wednesday midday, and then that's when we tell our traders, okay, traders, you've sold this much and I need you to drop it off at Bowhouse on Friday. And then on Saturday, that's when my team pick and pack and sort of collate the produce into the baskets. And we have a delivery van that goes out on the delivery runs, and we have a collection team where customers come in and they collect, and there's a fee for delivery. If it's, we've kind of done a bit of an incentive. If you spend over £50, delivery is £2. If you spend under £50, it's £5. And that's actually, we've seen it, people are buying a bigger basket value and making the order more worthwhile. But we did see during lockdown that somebody just got delivered one bag of flour from Scotland the Bread, and we were like, this is lovely, but you really just, you know, could have got a little bit more. But, you know, each to their own.
I think that answers actually Caroline's question, which was how do you organize the collection and delivery? So that's brilliantly covered. I think that we're fine. I think one interesting question that has been asked by two people is how do you manage the quality control in meeting the health and hygiene standards? Is everyone registered with the council as a business? How does it work? I think that the donut is a good example to sort of like think about.
Yeah, so obviously donuts is a high processed product as well, so there needs to be extra on that. So because we've already got our market weekends already had this structure in place, it was easy for us to implement this, and we actually had a lot of the information already. But basically what we say to new traders is we say we need to see your public liability insurance, and we need to see your food hygiene certificate, and if you've got a premises that is produced on, we need to see that kind of like tick document from the council as well, and that's just following what we need from Fife Council. I know that in areas of Edinburgh, different markets need different information. So sometimes traders come to us from Edinburgh and are like, but I don't need to give you that bit of information. I don't need to in Edinburgh. But it's sort of like, well, actually in Fife, we do need that bit of information. So we just have to have that bit of communication to the traders. And we've got a bit of a checklist to say to them, okay, we need 1, 2, 3, 4 before we can even get you on the site. And if things are difficult for them, then we kind of point them in the right direction to make sure they get the right documentation. So yeah, everything's checked, but it's also our team is very good at sense checking as well. So if something just doesn't look right, we're sort of like, oh, you know, yes, you've got the right documentations, but actually, can we just check something with this? Where do you get this to make that? And actually just having open conversations with traders is sometimes the best way, just a phone call to just say, I'm just a bit confused here, what's going on? And that's resolved most of the issues, if any, that we've had.
That's
that
great.
Answers the question.
Nick, do you want to show us a little bit more about how the backend admin works and just a little bit more about the Open Food Network?
Yeah, I'm really happy to do that. I wonder, Rosie, can you stop sharing and then I can start again, please?
Am I still sharing? Oh dear.
That's cool. Thank you.
Sorry.
Enjoy some technology.
Okay. So can you see my screen now?
Unfortunately, yeah, I can see myself there.
There we go.
That's perfect.
I just want to check that you can see the home page, the loaves of bread. Yeah, you can see that now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the homepage of the Open Food Network. Right at the top here, there's a little grey bar that says interested in selling through the Open Food Network. So if you did want to use the Open Food Network, this is where you click. It's about a 5 or 10 minute registration process. You just put in your name and your contact details, and that will set up your profile, and you could then choose to sell through the Open Food Network. I need to talk later about the pricing of it, but I'll come back to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log in. I've logged in with this email address. I'm going to click on the administration. So from here on, these are the things that the administrator of a hub will see, but or a producer will see a screen like this. But this is not what the shopper will see. This is the back end. So Rosie was talking about the products being uploaded. This is where we look at the products. There is a facility to import products. So if you've got a lot of products, you can import a spreadsheet with all your product details. Here we can see products that have already been uploaded, and if a producer wanted to come in here and change their prices or their stock levels, this is where they can just update their stock levels and their prices. If they're going to set up a new product, they will just literally come here. They will put their name in here, the name of the producer, the name of the product. Rosie was saying earlier that you can set it up by weight or by volume or by item. So if you're selling carrots by the bunch, then you can set it up. You can define the name of the bunch, the name of the item. But potatoes normally will be sold in kilos. You can then select categories, so to enable the shopper to be able to find products easily on the shop front. It's good to be able to define a category. The producer sets the selling price. So this is the price the producer will be paid by the hub. The hub will then make a markup on that, which will make the final selling price. But this is the price to the producer, and they then set a stock level. Or if they've got an unlimited quantity, they can tick that box. But if they do that, then Open Food Network will carry on selling without any limit. If they're VAT registered, they click there. If it's chilled or frozen, then they specify there. And that really helps with distribution to know which products are chilled and frozen. And then they add
Nick, sorry to interrupt. Can I just butt in? This is probably a really good point. This is probably one of the bits where our traders get confused. So when they're making the products, the price tab there, a lot of the questions they ask, and maybe it's the way that we're phrasing it, is, but are you taking 20% off of my $9.50, or are you taking, or is the customer paying for that on top? And so that price there, like you said, is what is coming back to the trader. And then when you see it on the site, it'll have 20% sitting on top of it. So sometimes the price that you put in there is going to be an odd number to make it, when it looks on the site, it's got the 20% on top. So I think that's, maybe I would just highlight that if you're setting up with a hub and you're helping traders, that might be a bit of confusion just there. That's what we saw. But once you explain it in the right way, everyone gets it. And I think traders like that the price that they put in there is what they know they're going to get paid for it. It's not actually it's below that. So I think that actually works better that way around than the other, if that makes sense. Sorry to butt in.
No, that's really good, Rosie. And there is a little video that we produced that talks people through this process, and that does make that clear. So if you want the video, just let us know. And then the producer then puts a description in here about the product, and if they want to, they can add a link which will take the shopper to an outside website. So that's the process of setting up a product. The producer would then give permission. Once the products are set up, the producer would then give permission to Bowhouse Link or to any other Open Food Network shopfront. There's about 150 shopfronts trading on the Open Food Network, and a producer can give permission to any of those shopfronts to sell their products. So this is the networking bit of the Open Food Network. So as a producer, I might say, I mean, these are the producers that I have access to manage. So maybe if I'm the producer, which is Borough Wines, I want to give permission to a food hub, and this list is all the 120, 130 different shop fronts in the UK, and I can select the shop that I want to give permission to, and I can give permission. The producer can give permission to the hub to add products to an order cycle. Now, an order cycle is a period during which a shopper or a buyer can place an order for delivery or collection at a particular time. So Rosie said that she has a 2-day window. I think it was Monday to Wednesday, you said, Rosie, where people can place an order. And that is what we call the order cycle. And Bowhouse will add products from multiple producers to their order cycle. As I said earlier, some of the producers don't like to have to manage their products, so they can give permission to the hub to manage their products. They can even give permission to the hub to do everything for them, to edit their profile completely, and to be able to change their social media links, their contact details, and so on. There's also
sometimes actually at the start we asked that the traders give us permission to everything because things were changing so quickly, and sometimes there was issues. We just said, look, if you don't mind, it'd be better if you just gave us permissions to everything. We're not going to tamper with any of your things, but it just allows us to adjust stock and things like that when we can't communicate with you quickly. And some traders actually now just manage everything themselves. But if you're starting up, it is handy to be able to change things for people if they're like, oh, well, I'm actually on a delivery right now, I can't change that stock, I'm going to have to, so that for us, that was good that we could edit some of our traders' things with their permission, verbal, if you like.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm really enjoying this, Rosie. This is working well. We've not done this before, but we're doing a really good double act here.
Yeah, well done.
The other thing that the producer might want to do is if they're selling through multiple hubs. So it might be that the producer has their own shop front, and they're also giving permission to 1 or 2 or 3 or more different hubs. So it might be that there are several people drawing on their stock level. What they can do is they can ask the hub to set up an inventory, which is like a virtual stock holding. So maybe the producer has 100 kilos of potatoes to sell. They want to keep 25 kilos to sell through their own shop front. They want to give Bowhouse permission to sell their potatoes, but they don't want Bowhouse to sell any more than 20 kilos a week. So if they give permission to add to inventory, then Bowhouse can bring those products as a virtual stock holding into their inventory, and then Bowhouse can change things like the stock level. They can change the pricing. They can edit things in the inventory. So it's just a way of giving the producer a way of limiting how much they sell through each of their outlets, and it's also a way of giving the hub a bit more control over that product. So that's the permissions bit. Anna, is this helpful? Can I carry on with
Yes.
admin stuff? So maybe the best thing next to look at is order cycles. I'm going to, rather than look at the Bowhouse one, which I don't know very well, I'm going to take you to the food hub that I manage. And Rosie, if you want to go through your order cycle, I'm really happy for you to do that. But basically, as I said earlier, the order cycle is the period during which the shopper places an order for delivery or collection at a particular time. Each week has a separate order cycle, with the option to clone an order cycle. So there's a lot of detail in the order cycle, and at the end of each week we just make an exact copy of that, and we just change the dates, and it's a very quick process to clone an order cycle. But basically, let me just talk you through how this works. Each order cycle will have a name, and we use week numbers for the names of our order cycle. So we're in week 32. It gives us an opening and a closing time. Before COVID, we recommended that people had a back-to-back order cycle so that the customer never sees a closed shop front. But then when one order cycle closes, the next one immediately opens. But during COVID, we've had to give our producers time to make sure they've got enough stock. So we do have a closed period between each order cycle to give the producers time to make sure their stock levels are up to date. And then each order cycle If it's a hub, it will have multiple incoming products, and then it will consolidate to an outgoing. If you're simply a producer selling from your farm, you'll have a much simpler order cycle with just your products showing here. But if you start to sell other people's products, then you will see these incoming products separate from the outgoing. Here you can see the different markups. So Artisan Jack is one of our more complicated producers, so we charge 25% for his products. There's a little system here where we can give a little note to each producer when we ask them to deliver their produce. During lockdown, we asked people to, and we're still doing it, asking the producers to deliver at different times, so that we give them a slot, so that not all the producers arrive at the same time. It just spreads people out a bit more. So you can give them a little note there. And these are all of our different, these are the producers who are trading through our food hub at the moment. We also do lots of plastic-free stuff. There's a plastic-free shop in our town, and we sell their products on through the food hub, and they also have their own shop front. So those are all the incoming products, and then this then brings all those products together, and it consolidates. So this is we're selling 715 products this week. This is the message that appears to the shopper on the shop front. And if I want to, I can set up multiple distributors. So it may be that I want, as well as selling on a Friday from the church hall, I might also want to have another distribution point. So as Rosie said, there's multiple distribution options. So you can arrange for people to have a home delivery or to pick up points and so on. But you can also give permission to somebody else, a completely separate company, to sell your products if you wanted to, and you can literally add them as a distributor, and they can set up their own delivery systems and their own distribution systems. So it's what we call a mother hub and a daughter hub. So the mother hub brings all of the products together under incoming products, and then the daughter hub, there can be multiple daughter hubs, multiple distributors of those incoming products. Loads of stuff on reports. Obviously the work that Rosie's doing on a Friday and a Saturday, picking and packing, needs lots of reports. So we can produce reports sorted by supplier or by customer. One thing I didn't show you under order cycles, there's a single button at the end of an order cycle. You can press a single button and it will send a purchase order to all of the producers in that order cycle and tell them the total of what's been ordered in that order cycle and ask them to deliver it to the pickup point. And you can also then produce reports to help with the picking and packing. You can link to mailing lists to do things like mailing your customers through MailChimp and that sort of system. You can link to accounting systems. Basically, the Open Food Network is designed and owned by people like you, people who run food projects. You maybe have your own food growing, food production business, or you may be a community food enterprise of some kind. And as Rosie says, you own it. And if you've got something that you think needs developing, then you talk to us about it, and we then feed that into a global prioritization process. So there's people all over the world using this software, and it's constantly evolving. Every Tuesday we bring up an update to the software with new features and functions. So if there's a report that you need that isn't on there, then we can design that and add that to the list here.
And that's actually been, sorry to butt in again, that's been amazing. I think seeing all the updates and the bugs being solved and bits and bobs, and like I was saying at the beginning, where we could talk to the team at Open Food Network and say, this bit's not quite working, or, you know, have we thought about adding an extra, you know, bolt on to this part of the site? This would make it easy for our customers to do this. And they take it all into consideration and fix bugs and do things as quickly as they can. And it's actually been amazing how much they've been able to do since the start of lockdown. Even since we set up Bowhouse Link, the site has changed and become much slicker. So that is brilliant, I think, that's able to change so quickly.
Thank you, Rosie. So we're now looking at the order screen. This is where you can set up subscriptions. So this is used by people who are using the Open Food Network for things like box schemes, so that you can set it up so that the customer gets the same order every week. but it's also used by regular hubs like Bowhouse and the one that I help to manage, so that if a shopper says, I want you to automatically put a bottle of milk and a piece of cheese and a bottle of wine in my box every week as a standard, then you can set that up as a repeating order. And every time an order cycle opens, those products will be added to their basket. They'll get an email to tell them that those have been added. They get the option to edit their basket, to add things, take things out. But if they don't make any changes, payments taken at the end of the order cycle, and they automatically get the same order every week. This screen also allows you to take orders by phone. So a lot, particularly during lockdown, a lot of vulnerable people self-isolating. Some of them didn't have internet access, so they can phone an order in, and we set up a phone buddy system where we had volunteers who were taking orders over the phone and taking payment over the phone for people who didn't have internet access. But here you can see all the orders. You can filter by name. You can actually view each individual order. And if you want to, you can select certain orders and then print invoices. So you can have a little invoice printed that produces as a PDF, and you can print those out, put the order in each of the boxes to go out to the customers. I think there's probably loads of other stuff I haven't shown you, but are there any questions? Is there anything that people want to?
I think I've actually just learned a lot as well. There's bits in there that I didn't even know we could do. So there we go. I'm learning more. I'm writing notes like, oh, that's a good idea.
And we are realizing that because the software is evolving, all the time, that we do need to sit down with some of our longer standing. I mean, Bowhouse isn't a long standing user. You've only been with us a few months, but there's so many new things coming that we probably need to sit down occasionally with everybody and just say, look, you talk us through your pain points, you talk us through the things that are difficult for you, and it may well be that someone somewhere in the world has asked for that already, and we can point you at the right part of the software.
I think that we're getting to the end of this, and I want to make sure that we have some time to address the questions that Nick is talking about. Lots coming in. So I think that we can start doing it. I think that the first one that was asked, and probably the most important, is how do you cost it? Does it have a cost? Is it something you pay a certain amount for administration if you want to use the Open Food Network, or is it on a case-to-case basis? How does it work?
Yeah. Okay, so we don't want to prevent anybody from using the software. As Rosie said, it's open source software. It's owned by everybody. It's not proprietary software, so it will always be available because it is a commonwealth, a common resource. We don't want it to be limited to people who can afford it. So if you can't afford to pay anything at all, just give us £1 a month as a token gesture. You can use the software for free, apart from the donation, but you will need to sort of find your way around using the support system, the online user guide and the online forums. We can't actually afford to give you email support and phone support if we're not being paid, but we do want you to be able to use the software. So just start using it. Let us know that you're you're in a startup phase. And as long as you're not trading more than £500 a month through OFN, then you just pay us £1 a month. Most people are paying us 2.4% of sales. So this is the standard plan. This is what most people are on. If their sales go up above 3,500 a month, it's cheaper for them to go onto this plan, which is 0.6% of sales plus £60 per month. And we invoice that at the end of each full month of trading. So if you just started trading and you're just doing a little bit of trading, we'll ignore that. But if you start trading fully, we will charge you under one of these two plans, depending on which is the cheapest for you. And if you're a big operation, so there are some people using the Open Food Network who are trading hundreds of thousands of pounds through the Open Food Network, and they've negotiated a cap on those, so they don't actually pay us a percentage of sales, they just pay us a fixed fee. And so that's pricing. I hope that answers that question on pricing, and you can view this page from the home page.
It does, and we'll make sure to include it in the follow-up email, so don't worry, people. We'll make sure that it's easy. Another question is if the system can be used by individual producers without connection to a hub, which I think it can.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. completely fine. So you just set yourself up, you set up your products, you set up a much simpler order cycle than the one I showed you. You set up shipping methods and payment methods, so you can take payments by credit card or bank transfer or cash or check. You set up your own options for taking payment, and then you start trading. Yeah, it's very simple for a producer to sell without selling through a hub.
I actually see the answer to the next question right on the screen, and it's whether there's a community forum between members to share knowledge and know how to work with it.
Yeah, so there's various different forums. This one is used by people who are running food enterprises, maybe producers or growers or hubs, to share ideas, not just about the software, but about, how do you do chilled and frozen distribution, ideas on different couriers who might be able to help deliver stuff. So that's a very active forum, and particularly was used during COVID for ideas on hygiene and social distancing and so on. There's also a Facebook group for people who are using the Open Food Network. And then we also run marketing webinars every Wednesday afternoon. We have marketing webinars where we talk about ideas for promoting your food business. So yeah, lots of community resources.
That's great. And the final one that we're going to go through for is how do producers communicate and network with hubs that might sell their products? Do you facilitate the contact? Can they reach out to each other? How you've seen that work?
Yeah, so that probably the best way to do that is to actually go to the map and actually just find, zoom into your area. You might want to type, your town in. You might want to type your town in there, and it will zoom in to the town, and you can actually find the producers and the shops nearby. Click on the hub, and that will give you the contact details of that particular hub. So that's probably the easiest way to network. You could also use the forums that we were talking about and just put a note up there saying, I'm looking for a hub near me, and one of the support team will pick that up and we will get in touch with you directly. So yeah, there's lots of different ways of linking up.
And the final one, is this only for food? Say if you're producing soaps or some other products, is that available, or is it just for food?
It's for everything. Basically, we allow each hub to decide what they want to sell. So we have this principle of subsidiarity, and we want decisions to be made at the most local level possible. So if Rosie decides that Bowhouse is going to sell, I don't know, soaps, then that's fine. If she started selling secondhand cars or genetically modified battery farm chicken, then we would be in touch with her, because there is a national level of organisation, and there is a board a board of directors that controls the community interest company that is Open Food Network UK, and they set certain standards for the UK as a whole. But we really want to encourage each hub to make their own decisions about what they sell. So yeah, we're completely happy for people to sell other products and services. So if you're selling tickets for a permaculture course, then you can do that.
That sounds great. I think that we're right on time. I'm going to ask everyone to stay just a couple more minutes because it would be great to know, what do you think the future is? Rosie, are you going to keep on using this after the crisis is over, or is it part of your toolkit now?
Yeah, we really want to keep it going. Like you said at the start, it's something that was in the Bowhouse mission to set this up, and COVID has actually just kind of made it happen quicker and focused all of our energy on one project. So yes, if we can keep the momentum going and keep everyone involved and the traders engaged and our customers converted over from possibly supermarkets or other ways of shopping, then yes, we really want to see it going. We've had peaks and troughs of orders. Last week was quite quiet, and we were like, oh, goodness me, is this lockdown's lifted? Has everyone left? But actually, it's gone up again this week, and we're in our area of Fife. It's summer is a big holiday area, and the East Neuk of Fife is stunning, and everyone comes to Ely and St Monans on their holidays. So we've seen lots of new people coming to the area and actually finding out about it and logging on and shopping on Bowhouse Link as well, because we see Glasgow addresses, Aberdeen addresses. So yes, we really want to keep this going as long as we can keep keep it up. And I think it's just going to be a real group effort. It's going to be the network that we've talked about, sharing information, talking to each other and talking to our customers and just telling them all the brilliant benefits of shopping local and actually supporting local growers, producers and farmers, because it's more than just the money in their pockets. It's so much more than that. And if customers can just...
Sorry, I'm on another call at the moment. Can I just ask you to hold?
So if everyone can just club together, I think it will keep going. But it does need a lot of work, and it's something that we just need to keep working on as a team.
Sounds great. And the very last question for Nick. Nick, what do you see food hubs are going to be looking like in the say coming year or something? Do you think they're going to continue to mutate? And what do you think that the Open Food Network places there?
Okay, yes, I'm sure. I mean, food hubs mutate all the time. Every food hub that I've ever worked with is unique. There's no two food hubs the same. So they're each individual and they're each changing. And that's the beauty of it. I think that they are very responsive. They're owned by local people, they're managed by local people, and they respond to local needs. And of course, they've evolved massively just in the last few months. And of course, this I think is only the first of the crises that we'll be facing as a species. And what I want is for the food system to be as resilient as possible. And I think that can only happen if they're owned and controlled at a local level. So yes, I think what I'd like to see in the future is many more food hubs. I'd like to see the UK covered in food hubs of all different types. Some of them might be just producers selling from their own farms, and maybe selling a little bit from neighbouring farmers. Some of it will be food hubs like Bowhouse Link, doing amazing jobs of consolidating, but with the shoppers and the buyers having multiple options to get hold of that produce. And it has happened amazingly over the last few months. The Open Food Network UK has grown by 850% in 7 weeks during the peak of COVID. So yes, it is growing and changing very fast. And I'm really excited to have so many people on the call exploring different options to set up local food systems for themselves.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you so much, Nick. This is like, I wasn't making notes because I know that there's a recording, everyone. Feel free to we'll send it afterwards. Don't worry if you weren't taking notes, and we're absolutely fascinated following everything. Makes sense. But thank you so much. This was really useful. There's a couple of questions that we didn't have time to answer. Don't worry, we're going to answer them in the follow-up emails.